A lot of testings they do with cell phones are done after 2 a.m. A lot of them are done with people dealing with 20 minutes at that time. Not these children. I've seen a 5-year-old's brain, which is mostly liquid, what the cell phone had done to it. It's fully radiated. These kids, I mean, I don't have a cell phone, I don't have a computer, I'm really stepping backwards. My house upstate doesn't even have a TV. But I mean, 20 years ago, 30 years rather, even more, 1950 had 1 out of 30 people with cancer. Now it's 1 out of 2 males, 1 out of 3 women. My sister has breast cancer, they moved down into here, now it's in her liver. My latest report from the VA is that they sell a bra that younger women wear that's held here, that's causing a rash, that's cancerous. The lady at the health food store where I brought the information, she said, my friend's a nurse, she has 3 tumors there. In Israel, they had a slight tumor here. I mean, very rare. That is full blown. In most countries, you have to be 18 years old to own a cell phone. No Wi-Fi, nothing's allowed in the schools. Now, Madame Curie with the x-ray was a great thing. They all had x-ray parties. These people, nobody lived past 50 years old. So these are things, this is considered by people, candidates for Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize, worse than cigarette smoking, worse than asbestos. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's good, and it's real, real big money. The movie Full Signal, which I've seen, had apartments in another country that they all put cell towers on. They were paid $2,500 to $5,000 a month just to have this cell tower. Great idea. Everybody got cancer. If you have cancer right now, they put this cell tower up. It helps balloon it. Okay? Okay. Einstein said the worst thing he did was split that atom for this radiation. These cell phones work off of radiation. Some of them can actually pop a piece of popcorn with an incoming call. That's how much radiation is there. People who talk to their girlfriends a long time will feel the heat in their head. When it calls for holding it this far away, the further away, the better. Now, cell phones aren't going to go away. I can't see that happening too soon. But there are a lot of safe things that you can do about it. Limit exposure. Use speaker mode or landlines whenever possible. Use patented noise field intervention technology. They have blocks.
Fix the camera so you can hear.
Okay. Use patented noise field intervention technology on all wireless and wired devices. Wired headsets act as an antenna, tripling the radiation to the head. Use Bluetooth headsets, not unprotected Bluetooth headsets. Never let your child or teen sleep with his or her cell phone or any other electronic device. Even texting exposes them to a near-field plume of radiation. Unplug or remove all electronics from your child's bedroom. Maintain a potent, nutritional, healthy diet and lifestyle. Take political action. Write to your representatives demanding that the government adhere to the standards set by this report. Also,
Okay, who generated the report?
I'm gonna leave this with you, okay? Actually, I'll leave a couple with you. Okay, even if the cell phones were perfect for everyone, the driving accidents are phenomenal. You see so many people playing this game here. We have veterans coming home that between the computer and the cell phone, they are isolated. They don't go anywhere. They order their takeout and bring it in and the show's over. Okay, Ralph Nader said years ago, shut the computer, shut the cell phone, get out and do something, okay? That's it for the church. Okay, my wife works with handicapped children. She's going on her 18th year. 20 years ago was 1 in 10,000 children with issues. They had to have OC, special schooling. Now it's 1 in 50. That's their latest reports. A lot of what I'm going to leave you shows ADHD a lot related. I work off electrical impulses. This revs people up, especially children. The older the child, the older adult, the less liquid. Not that it's foolproof, but even like when you go to the dentist, the radiation they use, you have to put the lead And keep that to a minimum. Unless you have a problem with your teeth, don't do this normal, we gotta check you out deal. It doesn't help you. I think that's about covered it all. But anyway, this is really compared as a new thing. But I have one phone at home, I pay $43, I get limited calls all over. A lot of people are going with 5 kids in their family, 5 people, you're paying a lot of money for this. It's the new problem of the future. One scientist listed as it worse than nuclear. So we really have to think about this. And the cell tower law that was passed was wonderful to help not be at the firehouse. But don't put this, the highway workers are worth just as much. And the further you can keep it, the less you can use it, the more you can hear me, the better off we're all gonna be.
That's our goal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave you with
Thanks
some
for coming.
information.
Appreciate that. Appreciate your input.
I've worked in research for 27 years. I work with some of the top researchers in the United States of America. They all use cell phones. They do almost all of their work by Wi-Fi because they work from wherever they are, traveling, home, airplanes, whatever. No, but not one of them is not using a cell phone. If you're really worried, if you live in a house with electricity, you're living in an electromagnetic field to begin with. So if you want to get rid of that, maybe talk about the rest of it. We need a cell tower in this area for safety reasons. It's not 1942, it's 2014. You have to look at your reports. Yes, there are safer ways to use the equipment, but we're not gonna go backwards. We're gonna keep using this.
No, I know, and a lot of them are being packaged as emergency towers and all kinds of things that
Yeah,
they're calling them to get them in areas where perhaps they may have not been so receptive to
Yeah,
before.
well, if you have an accident on the upper part of this Palisades Parkway, you better hope somebody's coming along.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because there's no service up here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I do. First of all, I just want to say that I have 4 comments, so I apologize to everyone. But the paper I thought was really odd this time around because we have 4 pictures, really great pictures of our village board candidates, but there aren't any professional profiles on any of them. So, you know, if I'm looking at this, I think it would be helpful to know what organizations these individuals belong to, their community service, volunteer work, how long they've lived here, are they taxpayers? Those sort of things are important to me, because if these people are gonna represent me on the village board, I'd like to know some information about them. I know we've all written letters in about the ones that we know about, but there's some I don't know anything about whatsoever. So in looking at this, basically I'm basing my information on nice pictures of very nice smiling people, and that's just something I'd like to have a little more information on in the future. To the current board, my husband and I would like to thank you, all of you, for engaging with the public, allowing questions and discussions, and respecting people's differences, everybody's differences. We've lived here long enough to be told by past boards that this is public comment only, and none of this discussion that's gone on here tonight or any of the other nights that you people have been on the board, it just wasn't allowed. So I see before me a group of very smart, free-thinking individuals that work very hard for us and not for themselves. And what we don't need right now, in my opinion, is divisiveness for divisiveness' sake, based on political affiliation, agendas, or personal animosity. And regardless of the outcome of the forthcoming election, my husband and I would like to thank you, all of you, for your service to our community. My third point is that it really bothers me that some people are trying to make the issue of the Senior Citizen Center into an election issue. There hasn't been a dedicated Senior Citizen Center here in 108 years. So I think we should keep things in perspective regarding the Senior Citizen Center. Everyone agrees that we need a Senior Citizen Center. And we also need a lot of other things that haven't been dealt with for many years in the village. Like, for example, a community center, code enforcement, and so on and so forth. The reality is the Senior Citizen Center is gonna take some time. And no one person is gonna change that unless they're independently wealthy and have hundreds of thousands of dollars to privately donate to the project. So if anyone wants to fund it privately, step right on up, I think that's great. Otherwise, I think everyone should put their time and effort into fundraising and grant writing because it's much more constructive than what's been going on recently. And finally, I'd like to say that I personally find it patronizing and a little offensive to hear people say they're trying to be a voice for the seniors. And the reason I say that is I have a lot of senior friends, family, and neighbors, and they don't need anyone to be their voice. My grandmother was 102 and still speaking her mind clearly and concisely. I think they're perfectly capable of speaking for themselves. They definitely need representation, but I think that it should be by them, for them, all of them, and not just for a select group of seniors. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Any other comments?
Speaking of the senior center, going to all the budget meetings, there's been the $50,000 matching funds for the senior center addressed. And I know the treasurer's here. I had some questions as to how that would work, how it would be matching. Would it?
No, it's not matching. We're budgeting $53,000. We were hoping to work some kind of a matching program. We are budgeting $53,000 for the senior center. We're not holding it up if we don't get the money. We're hoping to come up with a program shortly that we will encourage more people to give, but we are not gonna say, well, only $10,000 has been given, so we're only good to spending $10,000. We're spending the $53,000 on the senior center. As of right now, the budget is still tentative, but every board member here has made this the last, very last cut, if need be. There's been several other things on the agenda, and all the board members have been fighting, saying, no, we will not cut from the senior center. 53,000 right now, we're looking for more. The problem being, nothing was budgeted in the previous year, and no money was allocated, nor was, when it was gone for, was it looked at as for the needs. That's one of the problems. So this board is addressing that now.
So it's
This
not
was
going to be
the,
matching at all?
we're
No, but
gonna
that's-
see what we can do.
That said, very often, if you go for grants, the community has to put up a certain amount. So we have to have some money to leverage if we are
Right, but
lucky
I know
enough to get grants.
Mr. Magrita was saying that it would be 50,000 in match, and it would be set up matching, but you decided
That,
not
no,
to do
that's
that.
what we're
53.
we're budgeting,
Yeah.
we're budgeting $53,000 for the senior center. If we can set it up matching so that we can encourage more giving, that's great. We're not gonna hold up the process if people don't give. We've opened up the giving for a very long period, and there's been no money that's come forth, with the exception of the money that this board got from the I Donate program. And now, this board is hopefully getting another $6,000 from another endeavor that we pursued about 9 months ago. But with the exception of one of our people doing an engineering survey, or actually a needs survey over at the center, and another one of our citizens coming forward and saying that she will head up the program, those are the only two people that have stepped forward and said, I commit myself to the senior center. That's it. There's been no money since we started, and we've asked, the account's been open, and so for everyone who's hot and heavy about the senior center, and everyone that wants to see this done, this is our first option. There was no money to use in the previous budget. This is our first option to address the senior center, and we are addressing it with at least $50,000, now 53, possibly more. We're looking. But for those community members that are aggressive and want to see something happen, they might actually want to contact the village and let us know you want to be part of the solution. Because as of today, I want to thank Jimmy Titolo, and I want to thank Fran Galou, and several board members that have taken upon additional hours and their commitment to the thing. Those are the people that have stepped up and said, we want to be a part of it.
Can I just ask you something?
Yes.
The community development, where are they at? Isn't that part of their role on Main Street, or to revitalize businesses, support the senior citizen, school, activities, recreation? But isn't that what the Susan Roth back in the day, that big grant package, all of us were entitled to it? As you know, 5 years in, I've received 0. So it probably would also come up to whether or not that 15,000 that I think you might be talking about, and that falls in the realm of Schneider or Mountain Avenue and Pleasant, would I be a part of that? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind donating, but nobody gave me a thing but a hard time for 5 years. Be me for 5 years and survive in Highland Falls and put up with what I put up with. So I'm saying, this big community development, that, if they receive $10,000 and they put 4 in their pocket and split, because Susan Roth, she has a private, grant writer. But it's all a part of, where's the community development? Where's the president?
It's a private group, we have no control
This
over them.
nonprofit thing is a joke.
We have no control over them, or, I mean, when they, and
But could
let me-
we invite them
right.
in and
Let's
ask them, can they help our senior citizens? Can the seniors?
they haven't come to us,
bread?
any group can help.
Seriously.
Any group can help, and that's something you have to understand. We haven't, that's another story. Just to answer your question quick,
Mayor, just for some clarification, there is no provision in budgeting to be able to do matching funds directly. The idea was to encourage residents to maybe step up after hearing it, saying, geez, that is a good idea, maybe I would like to put forward $10,000. Trustee Murphy did make a very good point, and that is that when you have money set aside, if there are grants out there that have mechanisms for a match, you already have the seed money to be able to do it. So that's how this was all discussed. There is no mechanism
Well,
that exists.
that's what I wanted to, just a clarification to
Okay.
see if it was, because matching had been used several times.
Yeah, to encourage maybe people in the citizenry who might have means, that might want to hear that and might want to say, I might be willing to earmark some money, especially with the board considering putting out a large sum, I could be part of that solution. So that was the gist of it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
It wasn't meant to be misleading.
No.
No, I was just asking for a clarification. Then also, when you spoke about people stepping up, Mayor Flynn, Joni Cronin has mentioned several times that she's got several people that, once it's a go, they're on board with it.
it's been a go for months, and I've asked people to come to the village, and nobody
Well,
has.
but there's nothing in writing to even know what you need as far as
Well,
what you
those
wanna do
those
to the
10
government.
people that were stated, or 8 people, or however many people, that we have all these people lined up, none of them have called. They don't need, if they've lined up and said they're gonna help, they don't need, they have the invitation. They have the invitation that's been given out for over a month, 2 months now, in these meetings, as well as in the paper, to come to the village, let us know who you are, so that we can help you help the senior center. Having everyone all over the place saying, well, I'll help, does us no good.
No, but-
It has to be organized,
right. If
and
there
it
was
has to
something
be,
in-
and
if
it's,
there was a written estimate right now of what the needs are, nobody even knows what the needs are.
There isn't a written estimate of what the needs are yet. Jimmy's still working on that, and we're working on a budget, so it's like shooting a moving target, kind
Right.
of, so
But we-
that's where we're at.
go ahead, Charlie.
It is being discussed by some of the service-type clubs about supporting it financially. And I did speak to Jimmy Titolo less than 10 days ago. He is putting together cost estimates about what's needed to make it ADA compliant so we can get open. It's going to be a staged process. It's got to be done in phases, otherwise we won't be able to afford it.
Right.
And a la Joan Cronin, Joan and I, after we get through election season, there are a couple ideas that the two of us had to try to seek some donations and potentially make an arrangement so we can get labor at a less costly
Right,
price.
because she had mentioned Lowe's and Home Depot. Lowe's does have the Lowe's Charitable and Educational Foundation. There's certain requirements, but you have to fill out almost like a prerequisite see if you,
Pre-qualified.
right. And then Home Depot has the Community Impact Grant Program. Again, you have to have not a budget, but you have to have a plan to be able to apply for it. So, but anyway, that's.
And I just received yesterday's business magazine from Central Hudson, $100 million, $1,000. I mean, huge money for exactly that senior center. It was just in my Westchester paper.
I appreciate it, please, and everyone's more than willing to speak, please.
Sorry.
We're not all young, thank you.
And just one last thing, Mayor Quinn, because you've always asked us to address the board. If I offended Mrs. Wilson, I'm sorry, but I was honestly being a voice for approximately 7 seniors who have been in constant contact with me, who do not like to come to these meetings. They watch them from the comfort of their home, especially in this weather, and they have asked me to speak on their behalf. Again, if I've offended Mrs. Wilson, I'm completely and sincerely sorry. I've always tried to address the board, and I've tried to be respectful. So, that's it. Thank you.
I would say to the people, we are actually working on representatives within districts to help communication flow better. Hopefully we'll get that done within the month. But let alone myself or any board member that can be contacted if you have needs or wants, you can call the village directly and the clerk can take any concerns or messages and get them directly to us. That's the best way. The best way to find solutions is to work with us while we're working, which is in the office. This is a forum for presentation and dissemination of information. It's not a place where we're gonna have all the answers in a big book. So when you come up and say, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? That's what the office time is for. And if you can't get during that office time, that's okay. You can leave a message, you can leave a message later, or you can talk to a board member, they're available. The goal of putting this on TV and the goal of open government was to get your needs answered as quickly as possible. So if you're not in the mood to talk to me, you talk to Charlie or Anthony or Bob or Mr. Brown or anyone at the village. That's the best way to do it. If you want to get a problem solved, the best way to do it is to come down and work with us, rather than be antagonistic and try to make us look bad because you think we don't know what we're doing. Okay, that's the worst way to get things done. The best way to get things done is to come to us as a partner. And again, I want to thank, as far as the senior center, I want to thank Jimmy and Fran Galou. I see us moving forward there. I know Jimmy's put in a decent amount of hours, and Fran is very capable of leading the charge here. And I'm excited about what we'll see. We have contacted 2 other contractors.
Road vendor was
Yep.
today, I believe, to measure the place out.
Mhm.
Gina, did he stop and get the key today? Yeah, he came in to lay out and get some sort of idea of one part of it, and that's the last thing you want to put down. No, there's a lot of work to be done before that gets done, but just to sort of crunch some numbers and help Jimmy move along on his numbers, he was asked us to do this.
But as far as people that want to help and want to make things happen, any knowledge, it's a broken down building. If you have the ability in any field and you want to help, contact the village. We'll put you on the volunteer list and we will give you the information when it comes to your field of what you could do. This could be a fantastic community project that we could put together and we can all be a part of. It's up to you. Any other public comment? Here's the thing. Don't be shy. If I don't, I'm just gonna shotgun from now on. When I say public comment and I don't see a hand up, I'm going right to board comment. So be aggressive, you know you are, don't lie to me. Put the hand up and let's go. Yes.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the village's looking into the cell tower issue and trying to come up with some kind of public policy that works and, meets the federal law and protects property values in the village. I just wanted to make a few other comments about that issue and the issue of radiation. Of course, the radiation issue to an extent is preempted to some extent under the Telecom Act in terms of not being able to stop towers on that basis. But there were a few comments made in public comment that require an answer. First issue about, it's important not to be emotional or knee-jerk about this issue. And when I say emotional or knee-jerk, I'm referring to the comment that we need a tower to cover holes on the Palisades. We did our own engineering study, and it appears that that's probably not the case, that a tower such as the ones that have been proposed so far would cover a hole on the Palisades. Towers that have been discussed so far are mostly for the purpose of providing 4G services to our well-heeled neighbors across the river. So it's important that we really kind of drill into the engineering aspects and understand this without, having a knee-jerk reaction, oh, we need a tower because there's a hole in the Palisades. If there's a hole in the Palisades, perhaps there needs to be a tower on the Palisades. And certainly I think if there can't be a tower on the Palisades, they've been built in all those years, people in town are aware that there is a hole there. But so there were some comments made about radiation. I did a presentation a couple of years ago in town hall where I went over some of the details of this. Since that time, I've developed more than a little street cred on the issue. I have a paper that was published in January in Reviews on Environmental Health, which is a prestigious scientific journal. I had a conference in New York where I flew in the world's experts on this topic, and all of the proceedings of that conference are in that journal, including a paper by Leonard Hardell, who's the world expert on radiation health effects, David Carpenter from the Presidential Cancer Panel, Whitney North Seymour, who was the former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, who's been involved in quite a number of cell tower litigation cases, among others. And I'm also a review editor for Radiation and Health, which is a subcategory of Frontiers in Public Health. So, in terms of the comment that we have to move forward, if you have electricity in your house, you have electromagnetic fields, I think there's a widespread misunderstanding, especially in the public in the US, about the concept of wired technologies, and electricity is wired versus wireless, and the relative radiation amounts. It's a long conversation, but just briefly, yes, the radiation at the locus of the cell phone is intense. If you use the phone on speakerphone and don't hold it to your head, you reduce the radiation thousands-fold, and you're not on the cell phone all day. The real issue is bringing in transmitters, bringing them in closer to places where we live, work, having them in rooms. Internet should be wired. I'm not the only person that says this. You have Martha Herbert, she's a pediatric neurologist, MD, PhD at Harvard, who has written a public letter saying that radiation from Bluetooth cell phone towers, Wi-Fi that you're continually exposed to has a disorganizing effect on the brain of a large tranche of the population. Frank Clegg, who's the former head of Microsoft Europe, recently put out an article. He's been active about, promoting this issue in Canada, where he talks about this issue. You have Brian Stein, who's the former CEO of Samworth Brothers in the UK, who has spoken throughout Europe on this issue. German Office of Radiation Protection tells people not to install Wi-Fi. It's been taken out of schools in Frankfurt, Germany, in Austria. Council of Europe recommends it not be in. Wayne was correct. Russia says not to use cell phones before 18. So as a society and as a general comment, there needs to be a little bit more intelligence about the use of devices. Better to use wired indoors, wireless outdoors, and to understand that there is a public health problem going on. You have very esteemed scientists who have gone on the record and said as much. My conference footage is online. It's on a website called corporateinterference.org. I recently sent a memo to all of the school board members. I gave it to Suzanne Brown at the library. I believe she printed out part of it and is in the process of printing out the rest. So I'd really encourage people listening to this, go to the library. It's on reserve. There are letters from doctors such as Martin Herbert, from people around the world. There are scientific papers that I put there. There are letters to the FCC from doctors groups, from the American Academy of Pediatrics, for example, about these technologies, and about what's going on, and about the need to fix some of these problems. There's also a deposition that I put in there from David Carpenter, who's, again, on the Presidential Cancer Panel, who was the head of the New York Power Lines Project, which was a court-ordered study of the effects of electromagnetic radiation. So again, just loosely the concept, which I think people lose sight of, with the phone, the radiation drops off fairly quickly. If you have continual exposure to a transmitter, if you're right close to a cell tower, and by close, I mean a quarter of a mile to a third of a mile is within that range is close. You're getting more radiation than you should. And certainly with Wi-Fi, I've been very public about the fact that it shouldn't be in government buildings. You have, the EU has called for transmitter-free zones in public places. We were talking about noise earlier, and I think there is a tranche of people who are more sensitive to noise, just as there are people who are more sensitive to electromagnetic radiation. If you ever choose to revisit the issue of decibel level, Arlene Bronzaft is an expert. She was Bloomberg's noise advisor, and acquainted with her work. She spoke at my conference, and I'm friendly with her. I'd be happy to put you in touch with her. But with the issue of electromagnetic radiation, it's important to understand too that if you go back to 1980 and you compare it to the present day, in 1980 people maybe had 15 items in their house that emitted electromagnetic radiation, like a can opener, a washing machine, which emits some of the lower spectrum radiation. And today people have 190 devices in their house. So it is a huge difference, and people haven't really put some intelligence into that issue, especially with younger people. They have a whole lifetime of exposure to this radiation, and the radiation can be dropped down to a reasonable level, right, by going back to having wired indoors, using wireless sparingly, if at all, and I think that people don't have an understanding, right, that their Wi-Fi transmitter, in some case, if you have a ubiquitously Wi-Fi institution with the bigger, higher powered Cisco routers, that, and this is a shocking thing to hear, but you're gonna have more radiation in that room than if you were picnicking by a cell tower all day.
Ms. Koval, we can keep talking, but no, what I'd like to offer you is, if you would touch base with us tomorrow, what I would like is if you put a link to that on our website, and Mary Jane, if you could just let people know that, it is a very important issue, and we do need more. Like on a lot of things that are coming out now, bottom line, education is just a good thing. The more educated we are about something, the better. So if you could, we'll make that link available on our website, we'll advertise that it's there, and I don't have a problem, following up on this issue, because it is a problem, it is an issue, and it's on top of the radiation, which is the major situation. It's the inactivity of the kids now. It's the fact you can't get them out, you can't get them to do anything, because they're glued to these, so we're losing them on several different fronts.
Correct.
And that, to me, as I hear a lot of things, maybe the two of you, as well as other people involved, we get this out, could maybe have a couple things over the summer of an event, cell phone free event, yada, 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 leave your cell phones home, and have everybody come, and you can just give out some information, and we can have a fun day for the kids and the families, and try to get people out more, away from these items, because that's the way to, that's the only thing I can see. I agree, there's no way, as much as we fight, we're gonna win the battle.
Sure.
Or the war, rather. We can win some battles.
Sure.
I know this board is not in favor of putting any towers near any village areas. We're pushing our best. I do want to see better coverage, but not at the expense of the villagers.
I appreciate you saying that, and I would be happy to work on, with you, who should I call about?
The gentleman up here and myself.
Okay, yeah, just to have a link, and I think certainly with children, there's just a few things that if parents knew, they could advocate for better processes in the school, and they could give their kids tips that will serve them well through life going forward, whether it's preventing tinnitus by not holding the phone up to your ear, which is a huge problem,
Exactly.
et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you.
One quick point to just give people an example and perspective. Does anybody here want their children to smoke or their grandchildren to smoke?
Is that a trick
Does
question?
anyone here at all
I don't
want
have
their
any children.
children or grandchildren or young kids to smoke?
No, I can answer.
That's a unanimous no? We still sell cigarettes, is the point I'm trying to make. And you can
Exactly.
read it on the packs now, so let's not be this foolish. Just because it's new or inspiring, not what you want.
And there are small battles we can win, like having activities, like doing this, and basic information, even if we just get them to get more earpieces to get the phone away from the head. Having an event where we give them out,
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
And
But,
when you get into the birds and the bees, and when you don't have them, It's
I
like
thought you were going another way with that, but okay, go
the
ahead.
the guy in the coal mine, he may hate the canary, but when he drops, you better leave.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Board comment?
Two quick things.
Get crazy.
What you said with the Bluetooth, the wired or wireless, what's better?
I have it written there, Deborah
quick.
will know
I'll just
more.
make a quick comment about that. The Bluetooth
I'm just
up
curious.
to the ear,
Uh-huh.
don't recommend it because it's concentrating the radiation right here.
So the actually headphones, with a wired
A
to the
wired-
phone is better.
A wired headpiece is better. There's a specific one called a Bluetooth, not to be confused with
Okay.
Bluetooth, that has an air tube, so it cuts the radiation that would otherwise somewhat travel up the wire.
Okay, thank you. And going to the fact of our kids not being active enough, Little League signups are over, but we're still taking registrations. Don't let your children, if anyone, don't let your children sit around all spring and do nothing. If they're not doing anything and they don't feel like going, it's not about how good you are, it's about having fun and learning baseball. That's what Little League's about. So don't let them sit home and play Xbox all day. Have them go out for 2 hours and play baseball.
And just on that, Jimmy Willis has been fantastic with being lenient on deadlines. So if you,
Extended
from
twice.
5 all, not just Little League,
Right?
the T-ball program, the coach pitch,
15.
from age 5 up, we want to get these kids out. And that goes for softball as well. Jim's been great about, after the season, I'm not telling everyone to wait, you better get in there, or he may cut it off. But he's been great about saying, he'll roll the eyes, but he'll make sure your kid can play. And please, it's so important. And we have just a few programs. We're at board comment. Mr. Mellon, did you have anything else?
No, I don't. I was just, the wireless, in the homes, like the routers and things like that, you know, I'm an electrical contractor, and I never even considered that as, more exposure before, because I figured it was just, you know, out of sight, out of mind in a different area, and didn't pay much attention. I thank you very much for that.
If you were to purchase a Voss meter, it will tell you the levels, and you find most of them not to be where you want to be.
Yeah.
Some of the new green homes, and I suggest this, is where you sleep, is to have a switch that can shut all the power off.
Annunciator panel, yeah.
Because they're coming out with new power meters where they don't have to come to your house, they can read them at a distance. You don't want that
Remote reading.
juice going
Yeah.
through you, you know what I mean?
Well, they
We
have
have to
sending
fight
units,
these
yeah, the
things.
metering, they can do all
Yeah.
that remotely. Not only that, your cell phone operates your home, so there's receivers, so there's,
Delivery
wrap it
people
yourself
with the
in,
fuel trucks, it's against the law for them to have the cell phone. There have been a few explosions. It's a rare occurrence, but that,
they've removed that
Magnetic
sign.
field.
They used to have that sign at the gas stations too. No cell phone calls while you're pumping, because the fact that it could ignite it.
most places still have it, but you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But thanks for listening.
No, thank you for your involvement. It's good.
Okay, I'm changing gears completely. I'm reporting this evening on the survey results of the opinion poll on shared services and consolidation. We had 66 surveys submitted, 20 were from the town. Of the village response, it represented close to 3% of the village household. So again, this is just a baseline survey, just to gauge how people are thinking at the moment, before we really get into some of the definitive plans for consolidation or shared services. Of the highway, police, administrative planning, and services for seniors. The big one, especially in the village, but it also was the highest rated for the town as well, was for the police, with 98.9% of the respondents saying they were very interested in seeing those services shared. Highway and Public Works were second with 93.4, or I'm sorry, that was third, and administrative was 95.6. When you rephrase to actual consolidation of the departments, it was pretty much a tie. 93.5% of the village residents wanted to see police, with 91.3% for highway, and 93.5% said any municipal service or department that will save taxpayer dollars. Now, the part of the opinion poll that to me really was a little bit surprising, the top vote getter was not the show me the money kind of response, particularly focused on just the cost savings, but improved quality of service and efficiency in addition to holding down or stabilizing taxes was far and away the #1 bestseller here. The status quo received absolutely no votes. The other thing that I was really happy to see was almost half of the people who did the survey provided comments. And some of them are interesting in terms of the board going forward. I'll just read a couple of them. Please work together for the common goal, a better environment and affordable way of life for citizens. A suggestion was we need a heating and cooling center as well as a senior center, which certainly could be in the senior center. One government for under 6,000 population, one question, what is taking so long? I was a village employee for 17 years and am aware of how monies were used. Some grants are only available as a village and not town. I did speak to that individual, and her specific concern was the availability of Section 8 housing. There was an official notation, consolidate the historian's office. I won't tell you where that one came from. And then finally, the process requires careful planning. We need to take advantage of New York State Department of State, their offer to help with a plan. Also Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress, which is an area, not-for-profit think tank in public policy, they might be able to help as well. There are copies of the results of the data as well as the raw material available downstairs. I do have some copies of the survey results if anyone here would like to take one. That's it.
Thank you very much, Charlie. That was a serious
work.
undertaking.
Yeah.
And again, it's important to note, that's just the tip of the process. And the next step, we are collecting data for the state. I did meet with Bob about a little over a week ago to talk about our next move. And I'm excited. Just to recap, there was some confusion about the June date. That is not the date that we set for consolidation to occur. It's the date to move forward with consolidation. Our goal is to have all the material ready to move forward and then allow the process to be what it is, because that's when the grants are available and we hope to capitalize on that.
Could I just ask Charlie a question? Could I come to see you about that grant that's kind of like still hanging, there's monies, it's about $15,000. Sandra, I hear her, or do I speak to the mayor? And just tell me, does it go from Cousins Avenue?
Mountain Avenue to
Mountain
Cousins.
Avenue? So am I in the middle? Schneider
you?
Avenue? I'm asking, I don't know, you told me that the rules change around here, I don't know what to believe.
The grant is specifically earmarked for that area, and yes, you do fall in that area.
I could get maybe a sign on Main Street or a
I
sign on
can
my.
guarantee, I will tell you this,
How about
and
an
that's
awning?
one of the things I was going to address. There was some literature being put out there that there was a found $15,000. The $15,000 has always been there. We know what it's been earmarked for, and we're trying to utilize it to the best that we have.
I'm
Just
sorry.
spending, no, but you're right. Our goal is
I've been begging
to.
for 5 years for $1.
Our goal, well, our goal for the businesses and facades in particular was the other group that you brought up, the
Development Center.
the $750,000 grant, matching
Another country, or
grants.
they here, where are they?
No,
No, I'm confused. I've been out of town for a while.
we haven't been in touch, they haven't been in touch with
I'm
the
gonna put your
the
name
village.
on it now.
All right.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Anyway, as part of my report, the $15,000 is earmarked for revitalization between Mountain Avenue and Cousins. There have been several discussions about how to spend it, but we are looking for a greater piece of the pie because most projects require a lot more money. So that is there. Other than that, I just want to remind everyone,
I'm
please
just
make
looking for an
sure.
awning that says Side Street Saloon.
Seriously, Loma? Seriously.
That's all
help
I'm
me
asking for. Seriously, look around. If you don't know that I'm up
Loma, in the middle of a meeting, help me out.
there.
Where's Side Street?
Seriously,
I live by you guys.
please come out and vote tomorrow. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you very much for coming. Do we need to move it in, Zach? I don't have anything. We do not. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a great night. Move to close.
Make a motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Listening.
Laura.
Are you kidding? This is a huge donation.